Everyone likes to rave about Tenkaichi 3's attention to detail. Hell, I'm guilty as well. Half of my channel is straight up Tenkaichi 3, but it's for a good reason. The game honestly deserves it. However, this next detail I'm about to present, I only learned of it recently, and once I did, it low-key blew my mind. So in Tenkaichi 3, we have Goku N, essentially the Wu Saga version of Goku. And as you would expect, he has 4 forms: Base, Super Saiyan 1, 2, and 3. All 4 of those forms have dialogue exchanges with Kid Buu. And not just that, all 4 of them say the exact same line.
Well, that doesn't sound impressive at all. If anything, it sounds lazy.
Exactly. That's how it appears on the surface. I don't know if it was the dev's decision or the localization team at Funimation. Whoever it was, they've turned what would have been a fairly lazy interaction between 2 characters into something great. Here's the interaction with Base Goku.
Darn! Everyone has disappeared because of this freak! I won't allow it!
And here's the same interaction when he goes Super Saiyan.
Darn! Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak! I won't allow it!
Can you hear it? He says the same line as in Base, but his tone shifts. He's actually angry now, an emotion that's typically associated with Super Saiyan. Let's go to SS2.
Darn! Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak! I won't allow it!
Different tone. This time he's more calm and collected, and the delivery is almost superhero-y.
Darn! Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it.
Again, different tone. It's that trademark SS3 tone. And for the first time, he actually sounds confident with that I won't allow it delivery. Most likely because he's in SSJ3 and is finally able to do some damage to Buu. And what does Buu say throughout all this? Well, he doesn't say anything, but he has this pretty cool gaming phone to show you. This video has been brought to you by Red Magic with their brand new phone, the Red Magic 10S Pro. It features a 95.3% screen-to-body ratio, a front camera cleverly concealed beneath the display, and let's not forget, no camera bumps. Oh yeah, it even has a headphone jack. By flipping this red switch on the side, we enter the game space. Here, you'll find a wide array of customizable options and plugins that can help you out in specific game situations. As always, my favorites are the shoulder triggers, which significantly enhance the experience, especially in FPS games. Your classic mobile Dragon Ball games like Dokkan and Legends run buttery smooth. I even had the chance to test out the new Genshin Squadron game, and yes, it ran pretty darn smooth too. The phone's equipped with a customizable RGB fan and an enhanced IceX liquid metal cooling system, delivering a smooth, overheat-free gaming experience. And let's not forget long, because the XS Pro features a massive 7050 mAh battery that provides up to 52 hours of power. The specs on this phone are a bit overkill for mobile gaming, which is why many people like to push its limits with console titles. FighterZ is one of my favorites, and even a game as large as Kakarot is no match for the XS Pro. Or how about some Xenoverse 2? Whether you plan to use the phone as a daily driver or exclusively for gaming, I don't think you can go wrong with the XS Pro. The Red Magic 10S Pro is available worldwide in various editions and colors. Grab the brand new Red Magic 10S Pro today by clicking my link in the description or the pinned comment. God of Destruction's Judgment is Beerus' ultimate in Dragon Ball FighterZ. He teleports behind you, gets all up in your face, and does his signature flick to the head. This is what happens with basically everyone in the game. The only exceptions are Black and Merged Zamasu. And what do those 2 characters have in common? Well, they're the same person. Whenever you use Beerus' Judgment attack on those 2, instead of flicking them on the head, Beerus places his palm parallel to Zamasu's face and unleashes a massive surge of energy that sends him flying. Cool, right? But what's the significance? Well, Beerus essentially did the Hakai pose, but didn't actually go through with destroying Zamasu. So let's try and change that. If we lower Zamasu's HP to somewhere within the 15 to 20% range and then perform the Judgment attack, he deletes him. I think the callback is pretty obvious. The father-son Kamehameha, arguably one of the most, if not the most iconic variation of the Kamehameha. And yet, 90% of the games get it wrong. Or do they? Well, the vast majority of DBZ games, even the very latest ones, depict Goku appearing behind Gohan, transformed into a Super Saiyan. But just a few days ago, I was replaying Burst Limit, and while the father-son Kamehameha is still there, Goku he's in his base form. Of course, Goku being in base form is a clear reference to the manga. For some reason, when Toei was animating the DBZ anime, they chose to show him as a Super Saiyan instead of in his base form with spiked up hair. And considering most people are more familiar with the anime than the manga, it's no surprise that the majority of games use the Super Saiyan version of Goku, except Burst Limit, Super DBZ, and actually a few others too. Super DBZ was the only PS2 era Dragon Ball game to feature Goku in his base form, but that game was heavily inspired by the manga's art style, so no surprise there. Fast forward to 2013, and for the first time, Goku is shown in base form in animated media. Right after that, we got Battle of Z, and you guessed it, Goku was in base. Looks like since the Battle of Gods retelling, Goku was always shown in base form every time this scene got animated, or should I say reanimated. But to my surprise, the only games after Battle of Z to include base Goku were Kakarot and Xenoverse. Although Kakarot was technically half and half, Goku appears in both base and Super Saiyan, most likely as a way to reference both the anime and the manga. Xenoverse, on the other hand, probably had the most unique take. Goku appears as a spirit, which, to be fair, is extremely accurate, considering he was dead at that point. They even made the father-son Kamehameha an equipable ultimate for a customized version of future Gohan, which is a pretty neat detail. Really wonder what the next game will do. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but Frieza's Death Saucer in BT2 has some pretty nutty tracking. As a kid, I used to mess around trying to see if I could boomerang the saucer all the way back at him. Unfortunately, it never worked. The game just didn't allow it. The tracking was greatly nerfed in BT3, so I never really bothered trying it there. But now, we have Sparking Zero. Tracking has been improved across the board in this game, but Frieza saucers have received a particularly significant buff. They're now almost back to Tenkaichi 2's level. Still, the developers haven't programmed any interactions between Frieza and his saucers if you boomerang them back at him. This got me wondering if there's even been a Dragon Ball game with a feature like that. And that's when I remembered a little gem from 2018. Dragon Ball FighterZ. Unfortunately, there's no fully powered bulky Frieza you can play as in this game. Well, technically there is, but he only appears briefly during one of his super moves. Anyway, by performing this input, Frieza throws two of his death saucers, which surprisingly you can block in this game. You can also try to dodge them, but as you'd expect from a move like this, they have some subtle tracking. It's not as intense as in the Tenkaichi games, but it's definitely there. Once the saucers go off screen, you might think that's it, but nope, Frieza saucers spin back one more time, and this time, your opponent isn't the only target.
Ah! My organs! Stay in there! Stay in your home! Daddy needs you!
Wow, Freezer. You really were a cut above the rest.
Amazing detail. Although, Frieza won't actually split in half, even if you KO him with his own death saucers. Most likely because the game's rating would have been affected. Mr. Saiyan has perhaps one of the most unique and, at the same time, most bizarre Ki canon combos in the entire Tenkaichi series. For those of you who are new or just haven't played the Tenkaichi games in a while, the Ki canon combo is basically this. That little burst of energy you see, that's the signature trait of a Ki Cannon combo. If you see that burst, you'll know that you've successfully performed it. Now, while the energy burst is always present, not every character releases it the same way. Some extend their arms and fire it from their hands, others use their mouths, and a few even release it from their entire body. So now that you're familiar with BT3's Ki Cannon lore, I'd like to let you guess which part of the body Mr. Satan uses to release energy. Alright, let me just save you the time because it's kind of a hard guess. But Mr. S here, well, he uses his backside. I mean, it is certainly a way to release energy. Strangely, they appear to have removed it in Sparking Zero. He still has a unique animation, just not as unique as in the previous game. Also, worth mentioning, since we're discussing stuff that was removed in relation to Mr. Satan, do you remember his old Sonic sway? The one where he basically dodges all the opponent's attacks by begging for mercy? It was a cool nod to that scene with Kid Buu, where Mr. Satan accidentally avoids all of Buu's attacks by pleading for forgiveness at just the right moment. Again, no idea why, but Sparking Zero, they removed BT3's version and replaced it with a basic Sonic Sway animation. I love the way he works in Sparking Zero, but I guess I just missed those little quirks from BT3. It's no secret that Frieza doesn't have the best opinion of Pikkon considering the events that transpired between them, but I seriously wasn't expecting what Frieza was about to say when I paired these two up in BT3. I was just trying to test whether their Hyper Tornado or Nova Strike would clash, but instead, I got this.
So you're back again. You sure are persistent.
I've never been a fan of the color green.
For anyone curious whether the Hyper Tornado or Nova Strike clash, sadly, they do not. The reason I even decided to test this is because both moves fall under what I like to call one of the most unique types of supers. Hyper Rushes. That's not the official name, by the way. I just made it up because I have no idea what these moves are actually called. These Hyper Rushes are unblockable and have a unique property that allows them to power through your opponent's supers or even ultimates. In fact, from what I've seen, the only type of super that seems to outrank them in priority is the Super Explosive Wave. Out of curiosity, I booted up Sparking Zero just to see if anything's changed after all these years. The Explosive Wave still takes priority over the Hyper Rush. As for whether two Hyper Rushes can clash, they actually can, but not in the way you might have hoped. You won't get this reality-shattering clash where both users get knocked back by the impact. Instead, you get a regular old clash. It might have not been what I was expecting, but it's certainly better than nothing. Speaking of clashes, let's take a trip nearly 20 years back in time to the very first Sparking game, or as we know it, Tenkaichi 1. Now, while Tenkaichi 1 may seem bare bones by today's standards, it did include clash mechanics, both beam clashes and regular melee clashes. But today, we're focusing on the regular ones. Why? Because there's a strange little quirk involving the after image technique. If one of the players involved in a clash has after image activated while the other doesn't, the character with after image will teleport out of the clash, leaving the other stuck in a loop, cursed to battle his imaginary demons over and over again. No, seriously, he can't get out. Yamcha will remain frozen in a clash animation, completely at the mercy of the player who escaped using after image. So, how does one break the cycle? See, that's the thing. You don't. The other player has to bail you out by launching a super or an ultimate attack. And considering how much damage some of BT1's moves deal, something tells me you won't be too eager to break free from the loop. It's funny in a way. Nearly 20 years later, After Image Strike still caused quite a stir in Sparking Zero, to the point where the devs had to nerf it twice. But since online updates weren't the thing back then, Tenkaichi 1's version of After Image will quite literally remain game-breaking forever. Huge props to Jordan the artist for providing a showcase of this rare glitch. Also, since I'm pretty sure someone's going to ask, what happens if both characters have After Image activated during all this? Well, the player who activated it first will break free, just like we've seen so far. But the moment they try to attack the one stuck in the loop, their After Image will trigger, finally breaking them free. Ever since the Daima DLC dropped, I've been really intrigued by how they handled the new Daima cast. If you check out the character encyclopedia section, you'll find Bulma, Chi-Chi, and Videl offering brief explanations. Essentially, their personal takes on each of the 192 characters currently in the game. For the most part, it's what you'd expect. The girls share witty remarks and little insights related to the characters they're talking about. But once we finally get to the Daima cast, silence. Alright, there's no silence. I'm just being dramatic for no reason. No, the girls just don't have any idea who these characters are.
Huh? Who's this little cutie here? Never seen her before.
Daima takes place after the end of the Buu saga, but before the events of the Battle of Gods arc. If you look closely at their outfits, the girls are wearing their DBS attires, which implies they should be fully aware of the events that occurred during Dragon Ball Daima, especially Bulma, who was present from beginning to end. And yet, she still says stuff like this when talking about Pansy. Even though Akira Toriyama had significant involvement in Daima, a few inconsistencies in the show have led fans to question its placement in the canon timeline. For example, Kibito and Shin are shown diffused at the beginning of Daima, even though we see them still infused during events in Super, which takes place well after. Or how Goku and Vegeta don't use Super Saiyan 4 and 3 against Beerus. Sure, these inconsistencies could be explained if we really wanted to, but that's not the main point. The key takeaway is that Sparking Zero doesn't seem to treat these characters as canon, but it gets even wilder. While Daima is still fresh and its canon status is a bit up in the air, the movies on the other hand are not. If we ask the girls to give their opinion on Z Broly, they just get confused.
Who's this?
That's alright, Z Broly's in canon and neither are his 3 movies. That's all fine and dandy. But the logic stops if we hear the girl's opinion on the very next movie character.
This is a bad guy who came to take over Earth. He and his gang came to interrupt a tournament.
They know him, and not just him. Cooler, Dr. Wheelo, Android 13, every single movie character, they know everyone, except Broly. And of course, they don't acknowledge any GT characters or the events that happen in that series.
Is that my Goku?
At the end of the day, it's a game. Probably not that necessary to overanalyze what the games consider as canon or not. The only reason I brought it up is because I found it so intriguing and odd at the same time that I had to share it and see what you guys think. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Android 16's Gray Palette Swap. It's basically the go-to alternate color in nearly every Dragon Ball game. And while most games that offer color swaps include him in the gray armor, only one takes it a step further with a very subtle Easter egg. Budokai 2. This is how its default outfit looks like. Nothing out of the ordinary. Now let's switch it over to the second one. Do you see that? The red ribbon logo has been removed and replaced with the Capsule Core logo, likely hinting that this version of his armor was designed by Bulma or Dr. Brief. Now here's the wild part. Aside from Budokai 2, no mainline DBZ game has ever featured the Capsule Core logo on its alternate colors. Not even Budokai 3, the direct sequel made by the same developers, included it. And this isn't something Budokai 2 made up. In the anime, after Bulma patched up Android 16, she replaced the red ribbon logo with her own. Aside from Budokai 2, both Dokkan and Legends reference the Capsule Core logo, but those two, they pulled directly from the anime. They didn't do what Budokai 2 did. Really makes you wonder whose idea it was to include that little Easter egg in Budokai 2, and why no other mainline console DBZ game ever brought it back. If you guys want to see more, I recommend checking out the previous episodes of Secrets, where we dove deep into Sparking Zero. Also, I've got a really special video in the works, but I'm holding off on it until DLC 3 drops. Until next time.